Hi, welcome to Reading with Rocco. Back on January 20th, 2021, President Joe Biden featured young Amanda Gorman, then a 22-year-old poet, the youngest poet to ever recite her poem at a presidential inauguration. And of course, it blew my socks off. It impressed the entire country. And ever since then, I've been enthralled by every word she says. I follow her on social media. I can't get enough of Amanda Gorman's grace, style, and quite frankly, her wisdom and intelligence in poetic form. And here's a picture of her at the inauguration. There she is, reciting her poem, The Hill We Climb. And what they did was they published The Hill We Climb, that inaugural poem, in book form and was released recently at your local bookstore. So I immediately ran out and purchased my copy of The Hill We Climb. It's the inaugural poem for the country in a hardbound in book. I'm going to dare to recite her inaugural poem for you from her recently published book here, because the depth of heart and soul by which she weaves truth and inspiration into the tapestry of patriotism is unlike any other. Her work reaches deep within my heart and moves me emotionally and intellectually, as I know she does with everyone in the country. So now I know I cannot do her poem justice, the same justice that she brought to it in her performance at the inauguration. I get that. But I purchased this book because I want the opportunity to read it for myself over and over again. It's like fuel for my fire. It's like salve on my patriotic wounds. It is really impressive. And by the way, the foreword to this book is written by the great Oprah Winfrey, who is my favorite gal pal. And Amanda Gorman is very fortunate to have the great Oprah Winfrey write the foreword in her book. And anything Oprah says and writes, I'm good with it right away. So here we go. I'm going to recite The Hill We Climb from the presidential inauguration as published in her new book by Amanda Gorman. And here we go. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. And the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country in a time where a skinny black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but this doesn't mean we're striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge our union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so that we can reach our arms out to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true, that even as we grieved, we grew. That even as we hurt, we hoped. That even as we tired, we tried. That we'll forever be tied together, victorious. Not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in all the bridges we've made. That is the promised glade. the hill we climb, if only we dare it, because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. And this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated. In this truth and this faith we trust, for while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. This is the era of redemption. We feared it at its inception. We did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour. But within it, we found the power to author a new chapter, to offer hope and laughter to ourselves. So while we once asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be. A country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens, but one thing is certain. If we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left. With every breath from our bronze-pounded chests, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the West. We will rise from the windswept Northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked South. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover in every known nook of our nation, in every corner called our country. Our people, diverse and dutiful, will emerge battered but beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it. And that, my friends, is Amanda Gorman's inaugural poem, The Hill We Climb, as published in this brand new book that I encourage all of you to go out and buy. And you won't regret it, because I'm going to read this poem over and over and over and over again. Take care. Be well. God bless.